Welcome to another round of the Salty Takeaways here at SDH, and this is going to be a case of the bitter end because of what happened in leg one. Jarrett, Nick, and I will go over it for the next half hour. We join Nick's first response in progress because John forgot to hit the record button, but the word of the evening for Nick, miscommunication.
So, the first goal was a miscommunication. Second goal was miscommunication. Third goal was just wide open, lots of space. So, there's a lot of salty takeaways on this, very bitter end. But in my mind, Jarrett, feel free to chime in on this as well. It's the tale of tonight is miscommunication.
It is, and I guess my overarching theme, Nick, is what I told Jason. Nick, what's our favorite Italian coach? What's his saying about games?
So sometimes it may be good, sometimes it may be yeah.
Yeah, and just for continuity's sake, I just broke open a container of churro flavored ice cream, so yeah, I'm gonna eat my feelings. Man, it's miscommunication, and it is CONCACAF, and weird things happen in CONCACAF. I touched on this. Catching up with Jason, we were doing the watch along. I was very disappointed with Jarrett Marufo. Not to say that he screwed up a bunch of calls, but I thought he lost control of things and didn't manage the stoppage time well, how much stoppage time there should have been. Santos is doing CONCACAF things to the extreme, going down every 5 minutes. I thought the big mistake there was letting Alan Franco stand over him and let things escalate and didn't get him away. And then it just kind of lit a powder cake, and Atlanta reacted poorly to it, and you just can't do that. And it's one of those games, though, that, the Gattuso quote works here for no other reason that Atlanta easily could have been up 4-0 in that game at halftime, and it's done at that point. Even if it's 3-0, the draw is probably done because you're not going to play the way you did and, be stretched out in the second half, getting burned on counterattacks if you're up 3 or 4-0.
Right.
But Andre Blake stands on his head. Philadelphia gets their goal completely against the run of play with a set piece. Then Atlanta, a team still kind of figuring things out, gets beat. Gets beat on a really, really bad miscommunication.
Terrible miscommunication. Terrible.
Like a very much like a pop up on the infield, and everyone says you got it, except nobody's got it.
It was shocking to me that Dom didn't make that Jurgen Damm didn't make that call and just say, I got it.
Someone has to take charge.
Yeah, he was like 6 feet away from the ball. So it just seemed to me that knowing his speed and his ability to close, I anticipated Jurgen Damm being the one to make the call and saying, okay, I got it. And instead the ball was left alone in a 50-50 position and just ran down the field. Beautiful counter. You can't say anything bad about the counter. It was absolutely as good as you can get. But I think you're right. I think Jair Marufo allowed Philly to do the injury game where, and look, I am a big believer in the dark arts. I have no qualms with how Philly handled their business. I don't think it's disrespectful. I don't think it's killing the game. It's a part of it. But at some point, the official has to come over and say, we are not calling the paramedics. We're not calling the stretcher. Get up. And that didn't happen. And instead, they did the whole
thing. At the very
thing.
least, you have to give the appropriate time after 90 minutes. And he failed to do that, in my opinion.
Yeah,
correct.
He was at least 2 minutes shy of what it should have been.
Oh, minimum 2 minutes. It was, to me, that was the 6 minutes at the end of the game was absolutely clownish. But however, we cannot, because I want to be very clear, Jair Marufo was only a small part of this. The first goal, the set piece, Atlanta looked unbelievably good at defending outside of the 18. Outside of the 18, Sosa dropping back into that center back position. He was making calls. He was issuing assignments. The ball was moving really well. You had Robinson coming back, timely as always, making stops, recovering the ball. Emerson Hyman, it seemed like every 50-50 ball was Emerson Hyman's. And I'm done with the trash talk of Emerson Hyman. The kid has earned his money. He looked like he had a weight lifted off of him in this game. He was playing really well.
That's okay. That's okay. The slander has moved to Jurgen Damm and apparently Jake Mulroney. So
well, look, people can say I already saw the whole thing of Imagine Gressel over on the right. Well, you know what? In the Eastern Conference Final, that was Gressel's man to close down on that last ditch goal, and people can blow up my Twitter all they want.
Yeah, Nick DeLeon.
And Gressel did not close his man. Okay, and that's not. Also, I'll talk about the fact that Gressel on the turn lost the ball more often than not and was saved by Darlington Nagbe. Okay, so let's get this idea out of our heads that somehow Julian Gressel would be a cure-all for what happened tonight. That's not the case. The biggest issue here for me is, again, in the second half, you should know that Philly is going to allow you to move outside. If once or twice a guy being left wide open is that's a blown assignment. 3, 4, 5, 6 times a guy's wide open on the outside, that's their game plan. And as a defender, especially if you're an outside back, you're not going to let someone just drift that wide unless that's the game plan. They were very compact. The second half, they ran a Christmas tree. Carlo Ancelotti would have been thrilled. They ran a Christmas tree. They packed in everyone within the confines of the 18. Give Atlanta the outside. Let them play hero ball. And I don't care if it's Julian Gressel. I don't care if it's Roberto Carlos. I don't care if it's freaking Pele on the outside. You're going to have problems if you're not trying to play through the middle and do 1-2 quick passing to try to break in that compact box that they had dropped in there. And credit to Philly for doing that. They played the game perfectly. However, Jair Marufo has things to answer for. I will say Jurgen Damm should have there have been a couple times that Jurgen Damm should have played in the middle when instead he did crosses. There were times that outside of Jurgen Damm that crosses were played in that were with a hope and a prayer. You're not there yet. Play on the ground. Try to put the ball on frame. And look, Blake stood on his head. I'm tired of hearing that keeper X stood on his head. It's going to happen. We know this by now. But you can't let yourself get baited into taking the path of least resistance, moving to the outside, and then just heaving the ball in and hoping for the best. And that's what it looked like in the second half to me, anyway.
I will give Jose Martinez a boatload of credit for riding 84-plus minutes on a yellow card for Philadelphia.
I will give Jair Marufo credit for that because he should not have been left in the game for that long. There were too many fouls, too many ticky-tack things, shoves in the back. Jurgen Damm, hate on him all you want. The guy was getting his arm dragged, absolutely dragged. There's no reason at all.
Once. It was kind of
more than once. Oh, it was comedic. It was comedic. The level of
it turned into. I feel like the last 20 minutes just kind of turned into no blood, no foul.
Yeah, basically. I think Marufo shut it down with 20 to go.
Right.
Also, Cruz Azul has surrendered a goal to Toronto. It's 1-1 at the 21st minute.
There's your live update as we're sitting here talking about salty takeaways. Okay, Nick, man of the match. Who was it?
It's hard for me to say for someone for Atlanta, but I would have to say if I did issue it to someone, it would be Sosa. His ability to distribute from the back, his ability to make calls and read the game, absolutely awesome. However, I don't really feel like I can issue a man of the match for the game in general. I just don't. There were too many miscommunications between the back line, between Sosa, between the midfield, who was dropping back and when. I can't issue a man of the match. I'm sorry. And blow it up if you want, but there were too many missed assignments. There were too many missed calls. I think about the one time whenever George Bello was pushing into the goal. He pushed into the 18. He ran into 3 guys, and he turned around, and there was nobody for him to pass to as an outlet. And he had to drop back toward the midfield and then distribute the ball straight back. That's a problem, and that's something that has to be solved. And I think ticky-tack issues like that, I don't care how well you play.
Cruz Azul just scored. I'm sorry.
Well, there we go.
Getting really dumb.
Yeah. It's one thing to say we played really well in the first half. Soccer's a 90-minute game. And as a result of that, you have to say, I'm in for the first half, I'm in for the second half. Sosa was incredible the first half. He was not okay the second half. There were missed assignments, there were missed call-outs. And for that reason, I can't issue a player to match.
All right, so Jarrett, then let me in that first 45, you look at someone like a George Bello, who
I have breaking news.
yes,
Kelly Francis should stop by where I'm at right now, outside of Mercedes-Benz, and called Philly soft. She said Philly is soft.
SAWFT, I believe.
Hey, that is future Celtic manager Jim Curtin we're slandering, and I will not stand for that.
So I'm stating that for the record. That Kelly Francis came by, she said hello, and she wanted me to issue that on the show. But no, I can't issue a man of the match. I'm sorry. You don't walk out losing 3-0 and give a man of the match. I can't do that in good conscience. I would feel like I cheapened the audience experience by doing that.
Understood. Then, Jarrett, let me ask you this. In the first 45, when you were looking at the original game plan of Gabriel Heinze and how it was going up against the Warlock, who was Andre Blake in that first 45, what did you think about how things rolled out?
I thought it went about as well as you could have asked it to go for Atlanta. You generated a ton of chances. You forced Blake into 5 saves in the first half. It looked like a game where you would go, almost like beating Saprissa didn't really mean that much in the grand scheme of things because Saprissa is not really good this year. But I don't think you could have asked for anything more except for the end product. Now, that is a very large asterisk to put on anything to say the end product was missing, and that would need to be better. Yeah, kind of obvious at that point. Everything else, though, was great, and you're going to live and die by the blade with this team. I mean, you're going to live on a knife's edge. Sometimes you're going to cut the person you're going at. Sometimes you're going to cut yourself, and sometimes it happens. Gabriel Heinze is part of that Bielsa tree, and how many times have we seen Bielsa teams lose games like this?
Yeah.
And it sucks. There's no good way to feel about it. There's no, oh, shucks, we'll get him next time, slugger, and all that. Like, there's no one wants to hear that. I get that. But it's going to happen. You're not the first team to, roll somebody for 45 minutes and then get washed in the next 45 minutes. You're not the first team, and you sure as hell won't be the last team. Hell, you could go up there and drop 3 goals on them next week. Who knows? I sure as hell don't. But, I mean, for the first 45, you did everything right. Emerson Hyndman did what I hoped he would do in terms of crashing, coming from that midfield spot. You got plenty of young talent on this team. I think I'm a little higher on the wings than a lot of people are in terms of I really like Jake Mulroney and I like Jurgen Damm. I think I like Jurgen Damm coming off the bench more, but this was a unique situation. Jason and I kind of disagreed on this. I think I miss having a Brooks Lennon for a game like this because I'd have played Lennon up the field in a game like this for what he can give you on the outside. What you might lack in speed, I think his skill set would have been really interesting in a game like this. But even if he's available, there's no guarantee Gabriel Heinze does that. Hell, who knows? It is what it is. John, do we have questions?
We have. Go ahead, Nick. Go ahead and give yours, Nick, and then we'll go to the floor.
Look, I'll just say this game probably should have ended. If this game walks out as a 3-3 draw, I wouldn't have been shocked. If we had to lose, I wouldn't be shocked if it was 3-2. To walk out 3-0 is a bit mind-bending to me. Sometimes the balls just don't fall your way. And we can blame Jair Marufo. We can blame Philly's time wasting. If the shoe was reversed and Atlanta was the one doing that, 95% of us would have no problem with it, except for a few purists. Outside of that, the dark arts, tend to work for those who have a lead. And in this case, it was Philly's lead. So please don't just throw this all on Jair Marufo and his inability to control the game. He's a bomb, don't get me wrong, but at the same time, Atlanta lost the game as well.
All right, so We have had folks who have given their thoughts, salty and otherwise, and I will just run them down. And as a point of order, some of these may end up also being discussed again in the morning on Soccer Down Here. And Kevsey basically says, Nick, that you have to convert your chances. It
You
was
do.
one sentence, 5 words. That's it.
No, you do have to convert your chances. And that's part of it. You know, we can talk about all the other stuff, but Atlanta was in the 18 too many times to not convert one of those. And the time will come when Joseph hopefully gets back to doing Joseph things. Tonight wasn't that night. It was great to see him play the whole game. I think it was magnificent to see him out there the whole time. But the stuff that fell for you on Saturday was not falling today. And that has to be addressed. It needs to be addressed on the training ground. The lack of incisive passing in the 18 must be addressed on the training ground, because that would contribute to your strikers being able to get those shots on goal. So, there's going to be a lot of stuff that has to be sorted in the next couple of days. But, yeah, we got to bury the chances, man. It's a zero-sum game. You got to bury the chances when they're presented, and Atlanta had plenty of chances tonight.
DeAndre Jackson, Jarrett. The team lost its composure. Chances weren't going in. The team got frustrated, and after Philly scored, the team just imploded.
I think part of it was the CONCACAF-ness of it. In Philadelphia, leaned into the CONCACAF of it, which I don't know if I expected them to, but it's also CONCACAF. CONCACAF's a different animal from league. It's a different animal from, U.S. Open Cup. And for a team in Philadelphia that doesn't have a lot of CONCACAF experience, they leaned into it like champs. So I give them credit for that. Atlanta's got to be better about managing the emotion of it, which is a lot easier said than done. It's really easy for us to sit here and say, well, Atlanta's got to be, tougher emotionally. Yeah, no duh. But it's really hard in the moment.
Right.
You're already trailing. You got guys laying on the ground, milking stuff left and right, trying to kill time. You're frustrated. Things haven't gone your way. You feel like you already should have buried them under 6 feet of dirt. You haven't done it. And then they got a goal off a set piece. And then you had a miscommunication. You're already really pissed off. And things aren't going your way. And now they're just going full CONCACAF. But you have to keep
Right.
that.
Yeah, and that's a key part of it and that's why if you're the team that's doing the dark arts, that's why you do them. You know that the second or third time you hit the ground, that the losing team is going to explode, and in doing so, they're going to get completely out of their game plan. They're going to get completely discombobulated, and that's why you do it. It's successful. It works. And that's why people keep doing it, and they will always do it as long as there's a game to be played. It's one thing to say, keep your composure. It's another thing to actually execute that. Atlanta lost their composure to me after the second goal. As of the third goal, they shut down. And I get it. I'm not completely mad at them for that. As much as we talk about, you got to go all 90 minutes, you got to commit. Look, man, when you're out there and you're the one doing the running, I've seen plenty of y'all sub out in rec games after 15, 20 minutes. Don't talk about somebody who's been running for 95 plus minutes. Say they got to commit to full time. You're down 3 goals. You know you're going to lose the game. You do your best, but at the same time, you just got to. This is stuff you solve on the training pitch, where the coach says, "Look, we're not even going to watch the game tape from the Philly game until the next time we play Philly. We're just going to take it. We're going to store it in the archives. Let's just get back to basics. Let's clean up the missed assignments. Let's clean up who gets the 50-50 ball in the event that it's, we have a situation like we had on the outside for the second goal. Let's figure out how we get those incisive passes within the 18. Because when you're on the counter, you're not wanting to do a lot of horizontal and any backwards passing on a counter. You're wanting to do vertical, or you're wanting to do an incisive diagonal pass because you want to keep the momentum going. Too many times the attack stalled. You saw that horizontal pass, that backwards pass. That stuff they got to clean up. They got to clean that stuff up, and that's going to happen. Still early, new coach. That grace period must be there, but at the same time, we have to point at the things that we know went wrong. And that's what we're doing tonight.
All right, and along those lines, Nick, Kevin from Charlotte taking the philosophical approach for the long-term plan,
Right.
posting a GIF of two 1970s claymation penguins. One of them is crying, and the other one is petting it, saying "tranquilo," and Kevin from Charlotte saying "we good."
Yeah, no, there were good things in this game in the first half. The thing, Sosa was everything you wanted to be and more in the first half. He looked like the steal of the century in the first half. And I'm not saying he looked that terrible in the second half. It's just the miscommunications let him down and let the back line down in general. But there are things that are going to get cleaned up. This team looked unbelievably exciting in the first half. I did not hear one negative word from any of the people I was sitting around about the way that the team looked, except for, oh my God, we got to finish these chances. And every time Atlanta loses, it seems like the keeper stands on their head. Every time I keep hearing this. Oh, the keeper's throwing his head, the keeper's throwing his head. We got to get past this. And we have to start burying chances. And it's going to come. It happens in time. Unfortunately, these games count. And when you have a team that just scored 3 away goals on you, I'm not saying it's over, because Roma proved that against Barcelona, that, hey, look, anybody can come back and shock the world. However, I think there needs to be some business decisions made on how much we really put in to that second leg trip to Philadelphia. If I'm somebody in Atlanta, I'm saying, hey, look, why don't we play the kids and worry about the regular season, and let's just get out of this thing and call it good. But, I've been proven wrong on that before.
So the early thought, Jarrett, from Bartimus Prime is Philly is low-key average and will struggle to secure a home match in the playoffs.
No, I don't know if I agree with that.
Neither do I.
Because of Jim Curtin. Because I think he's a damn good coach in this league.
He is.
I think they need to make a move or two in the summer. But I think if he's given the resources to do that, or one of these kids from the academy really comes good, I think they can get a home game. I don't think they'll win the Shield. I don't think they'll get a number 1 seed in the East. But this is a team in Philadelphia that, as long as Jim Curtin is there, until he takes the job in Glasgow, in my heart and my dreams, until he does that, Jim Curtin's going to give them a shot to host a playoff game. Especially if Kasper Shabilko is a third of what he was last year, and he was that tonight.
Right. Hey, look.
Opportunistic stork. That's what he is.
I'll give you 2 reasons. If Philly is countering this cleanly, this early in the season, it's only going to get better from here. A good counter requires chemistry between the lines to be able to move the ball quickly and effectively in such a way that you're putting the ball on frame within 10 to 15 seconds. Philly was able to do that. And if you're able to, that doesn't happen overnight. That's not lightning in a bottle. That's chemistry, repetition, and fitness. And Philly has all of it. So that's where I have to push back against Bart. I respect Bart's opinion. Bart knows a lot about the game, but I got to push back against him on this one and just say Philly looks really good to me. I can tell a lot about a team from counter, and Philly, they played everything correctly tonight. The counter game was spot on. Their ability to milk the clock was spot on. Their ability to get Atlanta out of their game plan was spot on. You really can't knock what Philly's doing right now. I think they're only going to get better, and to me, that's terrifying if you're in the Eastern Conference.
So then
it's a matter
go ahead and
of
finish.
Like,
go ahead, Jarrett. Go ahead and finish that.
I think this is the perfect game upon which you can be a lethal level of salty, and no one's going to be mad at you because you looked really good for 45 minutes. You got beat against the run of play. A team went CONCACAF on you and beat you in your house 3-0. If there was ever a game for you to be really salty and bitter about, this is the one. I won't stand in your way to feel that way at all.
Yeah, but please don't sit there and tell me that Gressel or Tito would have solved this. Tito would not have solved this game. I already
Tito
saw somebody.
can't solve things because I love Tito, but Tito can't solve things when he's hurt all the time. And Tito, when he's on the field,
what, 2 goals since last November. Is that the running total at this point? 2 or 3 goals since last November.
He scored in 2 straight games. I think a week, 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, but
Tito can't stay on the field.
Yeah, he can't stay on the field. He's not healthy. Gressel, as I've talked about earlier in this show, he's not an eraser for you. He's not. Whenever he dropped back, he lost the ball in possession on the turn when he was trying to distribute. Nagby bailed him out more times than I can count. The man is not a cure-all for you. And Joseph is not mentally nor physically quite ready to handle the kind of ball that Gressel would have served anyway. So maybe later in the year, sure, wonderful, awesome. But those men aren't here. And we have to have the men who are in the locker room right now. And when you have a team that gives you the outside, who would have played well on the outside? Well, Gressel and Tito. Who would not have played well in a compacted middle space? Tito and Gressel. So they wouldn't have helped you. The guys that we had today, I think we had talent on the field who could have moved the ball through the middle, who have that close control. We didn't make it happen. And I think that's something that has to be addressed on the training ground. That, to me, that's the biggest regret of the year.
So, Nick, Sean Blackwell is in, and he has a salty question.
Mm-hmm.
Will anyone give me odds on Heinze forcing Dom to practice crosses for 48 straight hours versus Heinze feeding Dom into a wood chipper Fargo style?
I will take the because he's a teacher. As metal as Gabriel Heinze is, he's a teacher first. I will take the over on the 48 hours straight of crosses over the wood chipper. Talk to me in September about potential wood chipper activities. We may have a different conversation then. However, at the moment, again, like I said last week, Jurgen Damm's speed is an eraser. It can erase a lot of mistakes. I stand by that. At the same time, you can't get caught in lofting crosses, these aerial crosses. And when you have a back line as big as what Philly has, you got to put stuff on the ground and let these guys who have excellent ball control but are smurfs, get the ball to their feet, make some moves, and put a shot on frame. You can't just loft this stuff in. It's just not going to work that way.
Jarrett has said that Heinze has had 4 matches. Like Bielsa before him, you might lose like this from time to time. He said before, we need matches so errors can be corrected.
Correct. Yep.
Yeah. I mean, you're going to have errors, and this finishing, like, okay, cool. Let's go ahead and have this conversation right now, because I don't know if folks are ready for this conversation or not yet. Because Heinz has already come out and said, like, somebody asked him if he's worried. He said, "I'd be worried if we weren't creating chances." I feel like the last guy said that, and y'all got upset.
Yep. Well,
But I mean, that is where you are. Like, finishing is something that is going to come with time, especially when your striker is coming off an ACL. You really didn't have a number 2 finisher last year. I know a lot of people felt like you needed that, and not sure who that was going to be this year. And maybe you still have that question. And I mean, I can understand if you don't think it's going to be a Mulroney, a Dom, a Moreno, a Barco. You don't know who that person's going to be that other person you can lean on to consistently finish. Because I don't know what the answer is to that. But yeah, I mean, this is a similar situation you were in the past. Now, this is a much more aggressive, high-pressing, high-energy style, but you're having the same questions because you're putting in a system still. Mm-hmm. This is the same thing you dealt with in the past. You're putting in a new system. You're trying to figure out, how everything is going to work at peak performance. And, yeah, you would be much more worried if you weren't creating chances. God knows you created a lot tonight. You'll probably create a lot in Philadelphia. Do you win that game? I wouldn't be shocked. Do you win it by 3 goals? I would kind of be shocked if that happens. Actually, I'd be floored if that happens, just because Philadelphia's a really good team. But I think you will continue to create chances. You got a game this weekend. You'll continue to create chances.
The way that you solve this is through multiplicity of attack, multiplicity of options, people who can put the ball on frame. Because right now, teams are getting game tape, and the way that they think they're going to beat Atlanta now, play very physical, slow the game down, grind it to a halt, and frustrate them. And Atlanta has to start proving that no matter who you body out of the game. Remember, Joseph Martinez ended up with a very sweet V-neck shirt at the end of the first half because he was getting yanked around left and right. Atlanta has to prove that they are more than Joseph Martinez. And I know that's sacrilege to say in this town, but they have to prove that somebody else besides Joseph. And Barco proved it last week with that miracle goal that he scored. Emerson Hyman. He had Rainey dancing on him in the 18, but Atlanta has to prove if you leave anyone open, they're a goal-scoring threat. You have to prove that. You have to put it on tape. Otherwise, teams are going to start doing this, and they're going to keep doing it because it's been proven effective.
And on that note, that is just a small portion. So I guess, Nick, that did qualify as the bitter end this go-around, didn't it?
It was the bitter end.
So that is another round.
Taking it back.
Yes, exactly. So we'll do this again after the weekend where it's short order and it's New England for Atlanta United. And then a week's time, it's leg 2, which will be interesting considering all the CONCACAF-iness that happened in leg 1.
There's going to be some feelings, and I'm here for it.
Yes, there will be plenty of feelings, and we'll see who is up in them up there at Subaru Park in a week's time. He's Nick. He's hopefully getting home safely. He's Jarrett.
I will admit it.
He's Jarrett. He is at home safely, and I am just John. We'll be talking about this probably for the rest of the week. Thanks for hanging out with us here on the Salty Takeaway. Play safe, everybody. We'll see you next time. Gentlemen, send us home.
Mucha plata, y'all.
Salt your pasta water.
Oh, salt it, please God. Please God, salt your pasta water.
Also, pull them at al dente for the God's sakes. Don't pull out.
Yes. Yeah, and make the pasta meet the sauce, not the sauce meet the pasta.
Mm.
There you go. Salty takeaway.
Also, buy a nail brush if you're going to cook with turmeric. Otherwise, you'll look like you're playing with uranium for 3 days.
Mucha euro, y'all.